I wish I had edibles, but I left them at home.
Oh shit! I don't know if we have any weed products here.
Nah,
Y'all
it's
got
all
any
good.
weed?
It's all good. I just thought we were being vulnerable and honest.
I've done this album. Me and my boy Schmuck, the Loyal. We have this project called Try, and we admire you and your artistry and your unique take on things. And the idea is we're going to take some pieces from what we record with you, put them in the interstitials of the album to kind of as a way to give a really direct voice to talk about what we want to talk about on the project, you know?
Yeah, that's fire. I kind of did something similar to that with my first comedy album, so I feel the vibes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Just you had conversations with
but I didn't let people know that I was recording them. I got the releases after. But I had a bunch of these just like different conversations that were kind of themes that were in the set. And I used the conversations kind of like the segues in between to like get you from one joke to another. And it would kind of go like in and out of this, like these dialogues that I was just having as I was like building the hour.
That's cool.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I kind of dig the vibes for sure.
I'm such a fan of your show, Pause. I feel like that's maybe part of the way you approach comedy or ideate or something, because the way it's such a unique format, Pause, where it starts with a conversation. Then, is that like, do you get a lot of inspiration from conversations you have with friends? Yeah,
just people in general, I think. Like, you know, even strangers. I'm traveling a lot. I'm on the road a lot. I'm by myself a lot. You know, I kind of always liken it to being like a traveling salesman. You know, I'm just like by myself. So I'm always making some random friend at a hotel bar or some airport bar. It's usually an older white man from somewhere who's traveling for work by himself. You know what I mean? And like even just those random conversations about different things always just offer insight, you know. I like talking to people a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. I just think you gain so much, you know, from a good conversation. I'm a sucker for a good conversation.
I agree. Yeah, same. It's just getting people's perspectives and like Uber drivers. Like I'm like I'll just take my earplugs out if I'm in the car. Just
because everybody's life experience is so different and everybody's perspective on it. And this shit is so fucking weird. Like when you really just allow yourself to think about existing, it's fucking weird. It's just like we just are here and we really don't know why we're here or what this even is, you know? And so much of it we don't understand. We're just kind of moving through in it. And everybody's perspective on this experience, which is fucking wild, is just interesting. How everyone's processing a very crazy thing that we kind of don't talk about.
Yeah.
Which is like this whole thing is fucking wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very well put. Yeah, I feel like that's like even just art is like our collective trying to understand and our interwoven understanding of existence.
Yeah, just like being here, because it's so hard to just like when you really think about it, accept that like we really don't know what the fuck we doing, bro. We're just like doing shit.
Yeah.
In hopes that it's the right thing to do.
Yep. And like a lot of that is just programmed into us. It's almost like we're like just got this programming that's leading us through life, but we're like this passenger inside of that of consciousness trying to understand it all.
Yep.
It's interesting because, you know, like our project there's a lot of collaboration with these conversations we're having with other artists on the record. And, you know, and I love collaborating because I love people and I love working with people and getting their takes and from watching your show and seeing some of the way you make stuff, you're a collaborator in nature, but your particular way that you get to the collaboration, at least with the way you're describing your album and the way from seeing Pause and how that's structured, it's almost like an indirect collaboration with just through conversation, through friends.
Yeah. That's kind of the beginning of most collaboration though, is do I like you enough to have a conversation with you first? Right. First and foremost, you know, like before we could make shit together, is like just kind of how do you think? Like how are you processing this experience? You know what I mean? Like what are your takes on what's going on? That's the first thing. That's if we can kind of have some alignment in that, then I'm gonna be excited about like working with you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, we're both understanding that this shit is crazy. Cool. Like, all right, base level, I need that.
Yeah. Do you collaborate? Like, do you write with people? Like, when you're actually when you're writing?
For sure. Now I might stand up you know, I feel like like with stand up, I think comics, like, you know, we have our comic friends that we trust, and you don't mind like talking about bits with them or riffing ideas. And I think that's kind of how we write together. You know, it just might be like I'm just hanging out at the cellar, and we're always trying to out riff each other. It's like if someone hits a point, there's gonna be another comic that just like ups that point. Then someone's gonna come on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. You know, and that can usually get the creative juices flowing as far as like writing stand up. But that's as collaborative as it gets for me. Like, I'm not really sitting down with someone for the most part, like, yo, what's this joke? What's that joke? Unless I'm building an hour, you know, and because I feel like an hour is just so much more particular, and you're trying to land themes for real, and you kind of want to make sure these things are coming across. So it's like once I'm in like hour mode, you know, I have my homie Radio, Raheem, who isn't a stand-up, but he's a very astute mind that gets stand-up very well. And like he's usually the person I'll really like run bits through and like a set through with and go like, I'm trying to go from here to here to here to here. Kind of like, what do you see in what I've been doing on stage? Where do you see the connections? You know what I mean? Because when you're living in it, sometimes it's hard for you to follow your own train of thought. You know what I mean? Because you're just kind of lucid at times, just like going. And so it's nice if you have someone you can trust who can watch you up there and go like, hey, you know, when you say this thing, it kind of directly connects to this thing that you're talking about later. And then that old thing you used to say that you don't say anymore, maybe if you put it right there, you can kind of make that bridge. And you're like, oh, shit, yeah, I didn't even see that because I'm just so immersed in, like, what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, wow, that's cool to have a friend that understands you and knows your mind and your body of work so well that they can connect those dots, but kind of see it the bird's eye.
Yes,
like your totality of work.
100%.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. I also like what you said about like comics are just building on each other's, like, you know, like one person says one thing and then the next person levels it up, and that goes back to me like what we were talking about, the kind of collective thread of understanding, or like that's all of art. That's every medium. Everybody's building on somebody's understanding or somebody's ideas and just leveling it up.
It's art, it's philosophy, you know, it's all. So it's like one philosopher goes this way, and then someone reads that and they're like, oh, but they didn't think about this, and you can expand on you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how the shit works.
Yeah, that's
we're
cool.
all building off of each other and, you know, whatever that previous knowledge is or understanding is, and just trying to take it further.
Yeah,
that's every generation, you know.
True.
Every iteration of humanity, you know.
I'm trying to think of an example of this, but there's times when there's be an artist that I love, but I can also connect really directly with all the references, like all the things that fed that artist along the way.
You can tell where their inspiration, what they're pulling from.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch like a young Pharrell and be like, yeah, he's pulling from like De La. He's pulling from, these had to be things he was listening to, and these had to be, you know, and then you can see artists now like Tyler, and you're like, he definitely was an NERD fan. There's no way he wasn't, you know, like, because you can hear it. You know what I mean?
Totally. But then also, to me, sometimes it's equally as interesting when I see an artist that I'm like, I don't fucking know. Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, that's some fascinating too. I'm like
Tizo Touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, kid, you're going crazy.
Or like David Lynch. I'm just like, damn, where does this shit come from?
You never know where it's going to pull from too, though. Because now even when I listen to a lot of like these rap artists, like the new kids, like the kids my little cousins are listening to, you know, Juice WRLD. They're like Playboy Cardi, and I'm like, this is just 90s alternative.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like, which I think is kind of fire personally, because I just think it's cool how much what being black has expanded musically, and what is black music has expanded musically. And like, to me, some of this stuff is like, we put it all into hip hop because black people are doing it. But I'm like, I don't even know if this is necessarily hip hop. Even though we're like, hip hop could be anything. It's like, it also doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop. It could just be like alternative, and that could be fine too, you know? And I wonder if it'll ever get to that space, you know what I mean? But when I listen to that stuff, I'm like, man, that's so fire. Because when I was a kid, like, we didn't have black artists to listen to for that type of music, you know. So I was listening to Offspring, and I was listening to Blink-182, and I was listening to Fuel, and I was listening to, you know, and that stuff was tapping into the more like emotional side of what I was going through at the time. You know, my mom was sick and dying and shit, and I was just kind of spinning out as a teen, and I had a lot of feelings, and it was like, I love Jay-Z, but he wasn't really talking to my feelings, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have like feelings of a dude trying to sell drugs and I was like just going through teen angst emotion, shit. Sadness, and it was like that stuff was speaking to that, and I think it's cool that like now black kids can go listen to someone black that they can identify with racially as well and get what they need musically from that source and not have to like kind of outsource it. Not to say it was bad or good. I just think it's kind of cool that there's that option now.
I love that. I agree. It's like I felt like that turn in music. It was like it was the first time that like I heard rappers be vulnerable in that way. You know, like even like XXXTentacion, like talk about sadness, talk about existential dread.
Yeah, it's very 90s alternative.
You know, as far as where your ideas come from, do you have like a daily creative practice? Is there something you sit down and do every day? Or?
No, but I probably should. I keep trying to like incorporate something, but I don't know. I think the problem is I'm trying to be too structured about it, and I'm not. I've never been good with structure. It's never worked for me. I just don't do well with that kind of stuff because that's just where my brain goes. It's like if I'm going to do something daily, then I need to be like fucking studious, and I need to like sit at my desk, and I need to like blah blah, and it probably doesn't need to be that. It probably just needs to be like take an hour walk a day and just like fucking think is probably the right answer. But I've been trying to do this like studious, you're gonna get up and you're gonna free write for an hour shit,
right?
And it just makes me feel like I'm in school and like I'm making myself be in school, and I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. So then I don't do it. So long short answer is no, I don't, but I do think I need something,
outlet like that.
I just think it was probably because I used to have all these creative jobs that were kind of doing that job, you know, like I wrote for SNL for 3 years. So it's like, it was just there.
Right.
This automatic source to go get up and have to be creative. And that would get the juices just turning. And then, you know, that would turn into like, I'm going to go do a set at night. And then, I've got inspiration to go home and do some writing of my own. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of built in. And now that I'm not working for anybody else, I'm not like working for somebody's show or anything, I have to figure out a way to like implement it myself. And that's been a little difficult.
Yeah.
Because I don't like structure.
No, I'm similar. Like to me, it's the often the projects that pull the stuff out of me. Although I do like sometimes I just get random ideas and I just write them down. I try. Yeah,
I do that. I do that.
Yeah,
but it's not daily. You know, it's nothing that I do every day.
Do you have a spiritual practice or religious practice?
I mean, I pray
to God.
I believe in God. I mean, that was a long journey for me, but I believe in God. Whatever, I think I had to figure out what that meant for me. So I kind of went through like a lot of little for a while, like young rebellious Sam. I was like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything. But I think that was also like my mom dying and just, you know, shit I was going through. And I didn't really have a spiritual direction and what was being offered to me as religion, and it just didn't line up because again it was very much about like structure and
when
rules.
You were young, were you religious? Like you're coming from?
No, my mom wasn't really that religious. It wasn't like something like my grandmother was. Mm-hmm. I go to church with my grandma sometimes, but all those institutions just felt like control to me, and I've always had like issues with that. Yeah. Like that's why I wasn't a good student. I wasn't like, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I was smart, but I wasn't a good student. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Was authority?
Yes, I have a huge issue with authority. Like you could probably go through LA and Atlanta and Boston, and I probably had a argument or altercation with every doorman in the city. I have such a problem with like people telling me what to do, and so those structures, like, it never worked for me. Like those institutions of religion just. We didn't gel well, and I went to Catholic school for like 7-8 years, something like that. And it was like hell the whole way through. I was always in trouble. I was always in the principal's office. I was always getting in trouble. So my idea of religion was very much just like this thing that people use to control you. And God also has this thing that people use to control you. And so for a while I was just like, I don't believe in none of that shit. You just die. I don't believe in heaven, hell, afterlife, none of that. None of it's real. The Bible's not real. It's just a bunch of stories. And a lot of that I still believe, But I do have my own sense of spirituality, and I do feel a connection to God personally.
What do you think led you there?
Life, man. I just lived long enough and been through some shit and seen some shit and felt some shit, and I was like, nah, there's other things that move. It's not just us, and there's, and not in like some magical way, but it's like you got to be connected to something past this right here that's tangible, in my opinion, in order to really understand like purpose. And for a while I didn't have purpose, and as I started to have purpose, my connection to God grew.
Was there one day that you were kind of like, I think maybe I believe in God now?
Nah, it just kind of grew.
Right.
Like I just started being more like reflective as a human being. I just started thinking more and more about what type of person I wanted to be, and how I wanted to be remembered as a person, and how I wanted to affect my environment, and that had me thinking more about what connects me to this experience, and that had me thinking about my mom and like how I was raised and my connection to her, and that got me to thinking about how these connections really never go anywhere, and how like your spirituality is so involved in that, and like how you're gonna treat people and move people, and if you're not tethered to anything like spiritually, then it's hard to get you to move through this world righteously, because there's no consequence for not. And so like all of that just kind of kept increasing that like relationship, and then I started to make it a point to talk to God, like when I eat, not because like I'm praying over my food so like it don't kill me or something, but just this is a moment that I could be quiet for a moment and just make sure that I'm tapping in. You know what I mean? Like if I just assign that time, then I'm keeping my spirituality at the forefront of how I'm living and moving, and I'm just always remembering like it's bigger than just you. And I think that's what God symbolizes to me, is that like you're a part of something larger than yourself, and that is humanity, and that is very spiritually based. It's not
it's humbling,
physically tangible. Yeah.
Were you real close with your mom? She was a real important person to you?
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, how old are you okay to talk about her?
Yeah, I was 16 when she passed away.
Yeah, and she made a big imprint on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because to me, it's like that's just what moms do, and it took me getting older and hearing other people's relationships with their mother to be like, oh, okay, maybe not. And that made me realize like, oh, she was really like doing a job. She took the job of being a parent very seriously, and kind of poured a lot of herself into it in a real way. So I feel very grateful for that. Even though I didn't have my mother my whole life, I had a very extraordinary parent for a good amount of time, and I think the things that she taught me and left me with carried me through to the rest of my life. Like I always say, my mother still parents me to this day. I still think about her lessons, what she would think was the right thing to do, who she raised me to be, the type of person she was to people. So like, that was another thing that just strengthened my whole idea of like spirituality, because I'm like, that's what lives on. People die, and we're all gonna die, and really all you have is like how you treat people, how you're remembered by us is what carries you on indefinitely, or kind of what kills you off, in my opinion anyway. So that connection, and remembering that connection and kind of pulling on those lessons, to me is what kind of kept her alive. And then I eventually passed those lessons down to my nieces and my nephews who never got to meet her, but they get to be influenced by her because they get to hear who she is through who I am.
she's still alive even in them through you.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
And through my brothers, you know what I mean, and through my cousins and so it's like, to me, that's like what really gets left. It's like sometimes I can't even really remember what my mother looks like at this point. I've lived longer without a parent than I've lived with a parent. I don't remember what my mother smells like or things like that. They're very fading memories, but who she is, her character, her principles, those are the things I'll never forget.
That's a beautiful way to think about people's impressions, like even getting down through generations like that. I think it's interesting, like I feel like ghosts and stuff, like that idea is kind of about memory, like and I found like I can be haunted by people. Haunted, when I say haunted, like in your way, this haunting or whatever is actually the really beautiful, positive reinforcement of ideas and nice ways to live. And I think you can be haunted by people's voices in your head, literally, like, oh, this person might think of this way, or the way I'm acting this way, or this situation this way, in a reinforcing and positive way, or also in a diminutive kind of negative way if it's somebody that wasn't nice to you,
or even if it is someone that was, and just how people use people's memories. Like I think for a while my mother was haunting me because it was my family being like, your mother would be so disappointed in you, and your mother wouldn't want you to do this, and your mother wouldn't want you doing that. And I'm like, now I don't care about nothing. I don't care if she's disappointed. I don't care, because I'm rejecting everything, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, fuck that, you know what I'm saying? And so it wasn't a pleasant like reference for a while. It was just a tumultuous reference and a confusing place to reference, because I didn't really have a handle on myself or how to mourn or how to deal, But as I grew into an adult, and I realized I choose the relationship, the relationship doesn't choose me.
What do you mean by that?
I could change all that. Meaning I can remember it however I want.
Right.
I can sit there and think about the million ways she may be disappointed, and I can choose to live in that part of the relationship. Or I could think about the encouraging ways she would try to help me grow and get past some of the demons that I was dealing with of struggling with my sadness, you know what I mean? And so just with anybody, it's like you choose the relationship. Like you could have a good relationship or a bad relationship with someone, and that's really based on you. It's really not based on them. It's like, how are you going to treat them? What relationship do you want to have? And if you consistently show up as the person you want to be, whatever they're doing, it doesn't really matter. That's their thing to deal with on their side of it,
Yeah, that's nice. I like the way you frame that. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely have some relationships. I went through a culling kind of a few years ago where I was just like, I don't want people around me that are not uplifting themselves. I had a bunch of, for whatever reason, I've always been attracted to darkness. And I had a bunch of really dark friends, and slowly over the years, a lot of them got themselves figured out in a way where they weren't as dark like I did. Not to say that I don't have darkness still, but then there was some people that I just felt like that weren't able to escape that, and for whatever reason I wasn't able to choose the type of relationship I wanted with them, and then
that's probably because your shit wasn't strong yet.
You mean why I wasn't able to choose?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think some of these people, just the dynamic, it was just like kind of a. They always come to, like, I'm a support system for people a lot,
But if your shit was strong, you could determine how that goes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I did by saying, hey, I can't be as close with you. Because it's always like this, like, giving thing, and it's not, there's not an exchange of, like, energy.
There's not, so, like, I can't even be bothered with that shit.
Yeah, I can't be close with you.
Yeah.
So I guess I did, in a sense, choose a relationship that way. But yeah, that's an interesting way of framing it. I like that. I think probably there's a way to do that with yourself too, is choose your relationship with yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, you're fully in charge of your life. Nobody else is. Like, it's you. You can you fully determine this experience, and it's all perception and perspective and just how you choose to look at stuff. So like when I say like, oh, that maybe you felt pulled, is you weren't strong in your shit yet. I just mean like, even if I'm around someone who's negative or dark or whatever's going on with them, it's like I'm gonna show up as me.
Yep.
So if that's the time you're on, it doesn't even really affect me. Like that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Hopefully, me consistently being where I'm at, maybe you'll pull something out of it. Maybe you won't. I don't know. You know what I mean? But whatever you're doing, it truly has nothing to do with me. Like at all. You know what I mean? Like you're really on your own individual journey, and I'm on my own individual journey. And like I'm choosing for my journey to go like this. So it's like you can either get with that wave or not. And so for me, like I'm in a place where like it doesn't. To me, I'm not bothered by any type of energy because your energy don't got shit to do with my energy. And as soon as I feel like your energy might be putting me in danger or something, yeah, I'm gonna get away from you. But just like you're on some other shit, that really doesn't, you know. Like I have to think about like my grandmother. Me and my grandmother had a very contentious relationship for a long time. And when I moved back home, I remember I decided, like, I don't want to be one of these people who has a bad relationship with their grandmother. That's just crazy. Like, she's old. She's, like, gonna die. I don't want that to be the vibes. Like, so I'm going to just show up, and I'm just going to be good to my grandmother. I'm going to be the type of granddaughter I want to be. I'm going to take care of my grandma. I'm going to dote on my grandma. If she want to be on her, whatever she want to be on, that's on her, you know? So I would come over, you know, make sure I bring her a Coca-Cola, take out her trash. You know, we might get to talking. She might turn on me, start being nasty, and be like, you know what, you could leave. And I'll be like, okay, grandma, no problem. Still kiss her on her forehead, make sure I straighten up whatever, make sure her fridge has what it needs in it, and I'll leave. Come back 2 days later, hey, you still got everything you need, da-da-da-da-da. She turned again. All right, I'm gone, love you. I don't got to be sucked into that, what she's doing, because it really don't have nothing to do with me.
Yep.
And then eventually, you know, she came around on her own, and we had some finally real conversations we need to have, and, you know, tears were shed and hugs were had and apologies were made. And it was like, cool, now we could just both move into the light together, you know. But I'm just because you in the dark, though, I'm gonna stay in the light. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't have anything to do with me. And so it's like at the end of the day, even if it would have stayed with her being contentious towards me, I would have, and she would have passed away, I just would have felt okay knowing that I showed up as how I wanted to show up. And I just made a decision at some point that like I'm not gonna allow anybody to determine how I show up. I'm just gonna always be the person I want to be in a situation.
I think I'm able to do that at my best, the best version of myself when I'm feeling the best, but sometimes I get caught, you know, like I think especially with family, you know, it's easy to get caught.
Yeah, we all, stuff. I definitely think we all do, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think I spent so much time away from my family after my mother died because it was just fucked up. And I came from a very close-knit family. My grandmother had 11 kids, and you know, they all had about 3 kids each, and we all grew up very close, always together. And so not being around my family to the point where when my fiance met me, she didn't even know I had a huge family. She didn't know I had any family. That was very night and day for someone who was completely raised like in an insular ass, like nucleus type family, you know? And so that just didn't feel right after a while. The older I got, the more I felt off. It felt like something was off.
Being separate.
Yeah, it was just like, this is not, something's missing in me because this whole actual real part of myself I'm pretending does not exist. You know what I mean? And in an effort to just heal me, I realized I had to kind of like invite that back in my life. But some parts of that, it was dark. Like some ways I was treated after my mother died, some relationships that I had with aunts, and it wasn't good, you know? So I had to kind of decide, am I going to go back into this big ass, like, you know, mammoth of a family that can swallow you because there's so many people and so many personalities. And I know that they're going to put all their bullshit on me, whatever they remember me as, that's how they're going to treat me. They're not going to treat me as the person that I'm,
who you are now,
who I am now. And the only way they change how they treat me is consistency. I have to show up as this person every day, and I can't let their bullshit waver me, because the minute I let it waver me and I'm back to that person, they win. Yep. They're correct. And they're not correct. I'm not that person. I don't think I ever was that person. I think circumstances and shit that was happening around me was creating this person. But at my core, that's not who I am. And so it really was a fight for myself. And I knew that had nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Similarly, like, I think for me, it's like not getting caught in the patterns and stuff, you know? It takes for me, it takes intentionality at first. Like I have stuff with my family. First is intentionality, then and focus, then that eventually, well, first actually it's like, oh, this is catching me. It's like actually figuring out what it is that's catching me. Mm-hmm. Then it's the intention to get past it with compassion usually for me. Like sounds like you did with your grandma. You're just like, this is who I want to be and I'm going to be compassionate and loving no matter what. Then it, like for me, after the next step is like it becomes muscle memory. After I've done it so many times, I don't have to focus so hard on it. And then yeah, it sounds like it sounds great with your grandma because eventually she was able to, like, you had so much consistency that she was actually, it helped her free her from her patterns.
Yeah, it's at some point it's like you fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't have anything to do with me. You're mad. I don't know why. It has nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then maybe you want to figure that out. Maybe you don't. I don't know. The more I just started to understand, like, beyond just being my grandma, she's like a whole person who lived a whole life and went through mad stuff and, like, started having kids at 16, you know, and had 11 of them. So spent most of her life raising people and raising grandkids and, like, being a matriarch of a family kind of by herself and being the start of what influences all of us. It's like, once I just realized, like, yo, she's, like, good, bad, ugly, like, she's the shit. And I have an immense amount of respect for her. And that's all I'm going to show her, because that's what's true in my heart. It's just, I love this woman. I think she's an incredible woman. And at the end of the day, she did an incredible job. Because look at us, you know?
That's beautiful. You got a lot of wisdom, Sam.
I just try to survive out here, bro. Not lose my mind. It's really just a need to make sense of things so I don't go fucking crazy.
Sounds like family's important to you. Do you have kids?
No.
Do you want kids?
No.
Never?
Desire to
Definitely
do
not?
that. No.
How come? Out of curiosity. Not that it's like the default.
I'm selfish. I'm selfish. I like how my life is. It just seems like a big upheaval, and for what? You know, I have a lot of family again too. So, you know, I have nieces, I have nephews, I have little cousins that, you know, I took a hand in raising that look at me for wisdom and, you know, support and understanding. And, like, so I kind of do get to do that a little bit. And I kind of get to have some connection to, like, helping younger people become something. So I feel like I'm at least doing my part to add to society and humanity and, like, keep the ball moving. Right. So I don't really feel a need to, like, you know, have one of my own. I don't think you need to have one of your own to do that work. You know what I mean? And I'm still a big ass kid, man. I feel like I lost so much in my childhood after my mother died and just dealing with that shit that, like, I'm just now in a place, like, where I feel, like, safe and stable and all that type of shit again. You know what I mean? And I don't want to share that with nobody. I got my, like, room and I got my toys and, like, I'm not beat. It's like I like having my space, my shit, you know. I finally, you know, I lived with a lot of people after my mother died and was just very uprooted, and then kind of just thrown out into the world with nothing, you know, no starter pack. So, you know, just struggling, living on couches, sleeping on floors, all types of crazy shit, sleeping in cars, all types of shit. And it's like, man, I got my own room. I got a sneaker closet just for my shoes. I got, you know, there's a whole drawer just full of Capri Suns that I could just have whenever I want. I'm not trying to share.
Yeah, I feel that. I got a 3-year-old and my parents are getting old. And I'm an artist, so I am selfish, you know? Mm-hmm. I was talking to my friend Karen the other day. She said these years, because she got a little kid too and aging parents, she said, I think she said it was like the sandwich era. It's like the time in your life when you're, like, you have the most obligations. Mm-hmm. And it's gnarly, like with the little kid, aging parents, and it's like, essentially like the busiest time in your life
Yeah.
too, you know, like it's it's a lot.
And I never liked kids, like babies and stuff.
Yeah.
I like about, to me, honestly, 8, 9, 10 is when they start becoming interesting.
Right.
You know, like real thoughts, real ideas,
Yeah.
real personality, they're starting to think, you know, they're starting to notice
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm way better with like late teens to mid 20s. Like I've told every single one of my nieces and nephews that, like, you're probably not gonna know me when you're a kid. I remember telling my niece and my nephew that when they were babies. Like, they had to be like 7 or 8, and they didn't even call me aunt. They would just call me Samaria. And my brother had kind of like scolded them for it, and I was like, no, that's okay. If they don't get aunt off me, they don't get aunt off me. That's not the vibes that they feel. Like, that's fine. I'm not bothered by that. And I told them, like, you guys know I love you and I'll always be here for you. I was like, but this is not my real time, you know? I said, but y'all will get older, and one day y'all will come looking for me and I'll be right here, and I got y'all, you know what I mean? And now it's like, my nephew just turned 21. You know, my niece is now like 23. So, you know, when she started college, we started talking a lot more, and then it's like she started coming to New York to visit, and, you know, now I'm like the cool aunt that she could chill with and have a drink with, and she talks to me about boys and this and that, and I'm always kind of like giving her advice or being like, yo, it's nothing, da 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 da. And now my nephew just turned 21, and like he's starting to call me, and we hung out in Austin. I took him out to some clubs and took him for some drinks, and we had some conversations, and he's like, yo, you're like real cool. I'm like, yeah, this is my era, you know, like everyone got their times. You had my brother's wife, you know, her sister, she was around when they were little, and she was doing all the little, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm not built for that.
Yep.
It's just not what I do, you know what I mean? But this is my time to shine, you know what I mean? And I got you covered.
And now you could say that to them too, like,
yeah, because I didn't want them to feel bad for something they shouldn't. I was like, I know y'all not feeling it. It's cool. I'm not giving it. So there's really nothing to feel. I don't do that. I don't even have the patience for it.
Yeah. I feel similarly just about babies. I'm just like, like, you know, it's crazy having a kid, even a baby. I was like, I didn't feel that connected until he started talking.
Yeah.
He could tell me like what he was dreaming about or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it was like suddenly I had a dialogue.
Right.
But
That's
when
how
there's
I am
just this
too.
like lump of skin and bone, I'm just like,
I never
it's
been
cute,
into
but
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even when I was a little kid, when new babies were born in the family, like my little cousin Radonna, she would run and want to hold the babies, and they're like, "Smart, you want to hold the baby?" I'm like, "No." Like, I'm
Same.
doing
That's me.
something. I'm playing. I don't want to hold this baby for what? Well, you need to come see the baby. You gotta. I'm like, why? I was just like, why?
I'm still like that.
I don't
actually, with
care.
little babies.
Like,
I'm
yeah,
no,
I don't
it's
like holding
okay.
babies now. I hold my friends. It's funny. I'll hold my friends' babies, but it's like a whole thing. And they're like, I don't hate kids. It's just like, what's their purpose? But if they're like my friends' babies, I love them, you know? Like,
Sure, yeah.
I'll hold that baby out. But it's like, I get to also put this thing down and leave it. And that's kind of how I would prefer it.
Yeah, I feel that. Are you a materialist? Do you consider yourself a materialist?
Meaning, do I like
do you-
stuff?
Yeah, like
I love
materialism.
stuff.
What's your feeling
I
about
love stuff. I love stuff. Love it. Love stuff.
Does it drive you? Your money and materialism? Is that like a
Doesn't drive me, but I like having shit.
yeah?
You know, I'm a firm believer you can't let money be the driver of the car, or you're gonna get in trouble. I always say that. Like, you can't make decisions based on money, especially creative ones. You can't let money be in the front seat. You know, you gotta want more out of life than money. You know, I tell my nephew this all the time. But I'm like, what do you want to do? And it's like, you have to have something that drives you beyond money, or you're gonna find yourself in a very dangerous situation. I never got into comedy for money. I always just wanted to do something. I wanted to do something I love to do and be able to support myself. I remember when I first started, I used to be like, if I could just make $30,000 a year, because I think that's about what I was making working in like a mailroom of an insurance company, like 35, 38. And I was like, if I could figure out a way to make that much doing comedy, I'm good. I would be ecstatic if that's just how I support myself. And that's kind of all I wanted it to do. And it grew to whatever it grew to. But I've always liked stuff, and I like stuff.
What does drive you? What do you think's the thing that
Freedom. it's a constant search for freedom. I just want to be free. Free to think how I want to think, free to do what I want to do, free to create how I want to create. I look at money as a device that gets you closer to freedom, unfortunately, in this country, you know, but freedom.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be bound or controlled by anything.
Yes.
Not even myself, not even my own limitations, not even my own brain. Like, I'm constantly trying to figure my way out of that one too.
Yeah, how do you do that?
I don't know. I think it's just conversations and more. I don't know if I'll ever get to it either, you know, but it's like a constant thing I'm striving for. Like, sometimes I wish I could free myself of liking stuff because I know that's a part of like control, you know? Like, I wish I could just be like some type of Tibetan monk type motherfucker that just like only need a robe in the grass, and I'm just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm straight.
Real talk.
But the truth is, I love stuff a great deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always have. Since I was a kid, I needed the new thing all the time. I wanted the new crayon drop. Need the new crayon. New fruit snack drop. Need that.
Crayon drop.
Need it.
Fruit snack drop.
Need that. I need to pull up to school with the new snack. Pull it out the bag. Stun on niggas. Like, I need that. I do. It's a problem. I like stuff. Like, my house is like a clothes hoard. I love clothes. Clothes is a big addiction that I have. Too much stuff.
Yeah, same.
Not a minimalist by any stretch.
I want to be a minimalist.
Me too.
Minimalist personally,
but
like
it's not in my spirit. It's really not in me. It's like, give me stuff, and I like collect any fucking thing. Like comic books. I'm like a collector ass. Like, I like old toys. Like, I'm so glad I don't have a lot of money because I just be doing shit. I find new shit to get into all the time. Like, I'm a like vintage watch person right now.
Okay.
I'll like find a world. I'll be like, oh, this is interesting, and I'd fully deep dive, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm fully into this, and I want this, and I want that, and I want this. But it's just to have shit. It's just so I love options. I love opening my closet and just looking around and being like, wow, there's like over this many combinations of outfits I could put together. Wow, I'll go in my shoe closet and I stand in the middle and I just look like, oh, which ones do you want to wear today? I just love options.
The sneakers, watches, what kind of old toys do you collect? Like old, like Mickey Mouse era, like early 20th
Anything that
century
just
type shit?
reminds me of my youth and shit. Like, I got an old, like I go to vintage stores all the time. I got like an Alf lunchbox in the crib right now. I got a bunch of old little Chip and Dale figurines. I love Star Wars, so like the Star Wars stuff is mostly new shit because I went to the Disney pavilions. I built a lightsaber. I built a droid. I got little like, you know, collectible figurines and like Astro Boys.
I just noticed your CB4 hat. Is that like from era when that, like the 90s when that movie came out?
Yeah, I bought it on eBay.
That's cool. Man, my mom saved all these toys that I'm giving to my kid now, and I have a bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles characters, and now I've been actually getting into like, man, they're so imaginative, the world they created around that.
Yeah,
and it's fun because I can play with my son and do all the voices
and you
and the
know
characters.
what's up. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're really colorful, all those characters too.
A kid might be
really
good for that. Just a cool playmate.
Yeah. That is one of the funnest things. Like, I love playing.
Yeah.
And it's also storytelling too, you know, like you're creating these stories with the kid.
That sounds fun too.
Yeah, even just telling stories at night, like right before he goes to sleep, like I just like love that.
I like jewelry too, but I've cut down on the jewelry a lot.
What kind of jewelry?
I just like stuff. It's just whatever tickles my fancy. Right now I'm into like old like estate looking jewelry, like old white lady jewelry.
Okay.
It just looks cool to me.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know much about that.
You know, which is whatever I'm into. I'm hot.
So weird segue, but this is my take, but I feel like you have this almost like bird's eye view of politics, and it's something that I like really appreciate and admire about your comedy and your mind. It's something that is upsetting to me about the way the world is now. And yeah, I mean, what, like, do you have a take on how divided we are?
I don't know. I don't know that we're more divided than we've ever been. I think people like to believe that. I just think everybody's talking now. I don't think everyone used to get to talk.
Okay.
And now everyone gets to talk all the time. So we're hearing way more than we've ever heard. So things used to just be way more controlled. And now there just is no filter on anybody. So I don't know that it is more divisive by any means. I get why it does feel that way. I think too, like, I'm weirdly empathetic to all types of shit that I guess typically you wouldn't think someone like me would be empathetic to. But I think a part of that comes from coming from a large family where there was so many different types of personalities, and going through a lot of fucked up shit with them, and just kind of realizing how flawed just people are. People are just flawed. And a lot of times people are working from their own trauma centers.
Sure.
And their own pain, and it's really not personal. And in order to forgive my family and even be able to be around them again, I had to come to some of those rationales of like, this wasn't as personal as I was taking it. And a lot of this is really not about me, and take yourself out of the center of things.
Yeah.
So I've learned,
go out.
Yes, I've learned to do that, just period. Like, most of these things have nothing to do with you, you know? Like I often say about like black people and white people, I'm like, I don't think the average white person hates black people. They're just not thinking about you. You're just not important, which I know is a harder thing to accept.
Right.
But you're just not important to them. You're just not a thing that matters. And so they move as if you don't, and that's hurtful. But it's because you don't. And that's probably the thing we should address.
Right.
Because, you know, hate requires giving a fuck. And I don't really think they give a fuck, which is a whole different bag of worms. But if you come from the space of, why do you hate me? And I'm going to treat you like you hate me. And they're like, I don't hate you, but now I do. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Rather than just like, hey, I'm a thing you should maybe consider that exists, that is going through some shit, you know? Which is where I think it really is. But I say all that to say is that ability to just remove myself, and then being a triple minority, you know, a woman, gay, black, you realize like everybody sucks, right? There's no group that's not shitty.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like no one's
perfect.
Nobody. No, there's no group that's not. The gay community can be racist. The gay community can be biased within itself. Black people are biased within themselves, and you know, homophobic and misogynist and all the things, right? White people have there's no group that's not doing this. So then you realize this is a human condition. It is not particular to anybody. It's not particular to any race or group. So it's not personal. It's just like people in their shit. And then once you can do that, then you can really start to analyze it for what it is. You know what I mean? And just kind of speak plainly about it, because it isn't personal and it's not that attached. And I think the problem is people just overly attach themselves to this stuff in a way that's just like, it really isn't.
Something that's really inspiring me is you're talking about like, you know, wanting to be like a Buddhist monk that just needs a robe. Speaking to you and understanding you better, I feel like you're coming from this place of empathy and detachment from ego, which are like very much like Eastern philosophy, Buddhist principles. You know, I don't think I understood that before we spoke, how central that was to your
oh
way of
yeah
thinking.
Man, I've never even put it or heard it in that terms, so I never thought about it like that. But like, yeah, it's just because it's really true, you know, like everyone's just fighting for their version of this. It's like, and no one really knows what the right version is, you know, and there probably isn't a right version. And who's to say their version is wrong or right? You know, I've always felt like you don't have the right to like impede on another person's rights, because, you know, we're all here paying the same fucking taxes and going through this shit. And like, so you don't have the right to say I can't do something in a public space, or the right to say you can't control any public works. It's kind of how I put it. But if in your house you hate gay people and you don't want them over, fine. I don't, you know, that's your prerogative. You know what I mean? You don't have the right to like go out and kill gay people or ban gay people from the library, you know, but like, you start a church, you don't want gay people in that church, by all means, have your church do whatever you want your church to do. As long as I have the right to start my church up the street, that's gay as fuck. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the beauty of America, you know? And I think dangerously on both sides, we're trying to get to this homogenous thinking one way or the other. And I think either side is successful, and that is dangerous.
That's where I hear the division that bothers me. Is like, I feel like, and maybe it is because everybody has a microphone now, but it's like, it's not just people are talking, but they're like, if you say one thing that your tribe doesn't or a tribe doesn't agree with, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, man.
This absolutism
that's dangerous. That is actually dangerous on both sides.
Yes,
it's like,
agreed.
We can't stop thinking and challenging and wondering, and we can't shut people down because we don't like their thoughts.
Yes.
That's just not okay on any side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, I guess that kind of, for that bird's eye perspective is just the removal of that need to dictate or control. It's just like, this thing should be a constantly evolving dialogue on both sides. That's the only way it's gonna work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Not a lot of dialogue right now. It's a lot of shouting.
Well, people are just digging their heels in the sand because no one feels like respected or heard, and then it's turning into extremism on top of that. You know, because there's people who are like, you shouldn't kill babies, and then there's people who are like, I have the right to do what I want with my body, but because everyone's digging their heels in the sand, and misinformation, which is so dangerous, it becomes just like, people want to cut babies' heads off when they come out the womb, and it's like, that's not at all what's happening, you know?
Or what anybody wants.
Or what anybody wants, you know what I mean? But it's like, also, you know, if someone really feels like that is murder and bad, you just can't tell them, shut the fuck up about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have a dialogue.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna help anything either, you know? And just like, I murder who I want, you can't do that. It's gotta be some type of conversation that gets us somewhere, you know what I mean? And that's the fearful part. It's just I don't know. We're just letting too many people talk.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said. Nobody feels heard, but everybody's heard now. Like, that's the thing. That's what's so crazy to not feel heard when everybody's heard.
Everybody's talking. There's no more like vetting of any conversation. You don't have to know what you're talking about anymore to be considered a person that can sit on a platform and talk about it. You don't have to really have information. You don't have to be a journalist to do journalism. You don't have to, no one's beholden to these rules anymore.
Yep.
You can literally just say something that is absolutely not true and put it into the world. You don't have to print a retraction. You don't have to go, hey, you know, if you're a blogger, which now we just act like they're journalists, they don't have to go like, hey, that thing I said actually isn't true. They have no legal standing to have to do that.
We act like anybody with a Twitter account is a journalist now.
Anybody. And even journalism is not even real anymore because they're just telling you what people are saying on Twitter. It's like, I can read that myself. That's the scariest part to me, is like the misinformation and the way we get information and people's inability to discern truth from lies now and fact from fiction, and how it's all just becoming one thing.
I have this like pitch that I give to anybody I know that's like has any power in the entertainment industry. I'm like, please start a news organization. It can be like a platform like CNN or Fox News, where the slogan is like fact-checked, fair and balanced reporting. Everything on here is a fact. There's no, and if there's a subjective take, we say editorial. Everything else on here, like, there's people on both sides reporting, and all of the stats and facts are double checked. And I actually think, like, you know, profit is a great motivator. Like, people want that. I want that. My friends want that. We want something that, because, you know, I did this project for CNN a bunch of years ago, and, like, everybody at CNN thinks that they're like, nah, we're in the middle. Like, we're fair and balanced.
No.
You know, I'm like, when's the last time you guys supported a Republican? Not that I'm not a Republican,
right.
But I'm like,
it's not fair and balanced.
No, and I feel like
no fair and balanced here.
If there was a big platform that people could trust that it was fair and balanced,
propaganda.
People would people would flock to that. A lot of people would be like, I want news that I know is actually legit and there's no slant on it.
We should just lean towards like how they do it like overseas, like Al Jazeera or, you know, BBC. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, that's what the American, it should just be the news. Like when you turn on, it's just the news. Like it's no sensation.
It's not entertainment. It's news.
It's just like something burned up the street, it burned down. Something happened over here. That's what happened over here. This is what it's not like
we don't know who did it
on Elm Street. You know, it's like it's not. Whatever we're doing here, it's bad. It's like if we're looking at the world and like if we're at the end of days, we are definitely the Sodom and Gomorrah of this situation. It's like what we got going on here is.
Yep.
It's time for this place to burn. It is bad. It is every if you do believe in the Bible, it's like we are here breaking every commandment. That's why it's so funny that anybody's yelling about religious reasons not to have abortions. It's like, baby, we are here doing everything wrong. Y'all do know that.
Yeah, it's all profit and power motivated. All that.
Yeah, we are like we are worshiping false idols. We're doing the whole shebang bang. We are gluttons, we are sloths, we are doing all of it, like all of it and all at once and putting it on TV and enjoying watching it, and like we're just a fucking mess. So it's truly funny that anyone has any real opinion based in any type of like religious we shouldn't be. It's like everybody shut the fuck up because we did this wrong.
It's interesting. I feel like that, but I also feel like it's like the greatest time to be alive in the history of humanity at the same time. Like there's more freedom to be who you want to be. Like there's this ability to communicate with people. Like, you know, like there's so many things that are so amazing about the way
I think it's the most pivotal time. But maybe that's like because I'm living in it shit.
Yeah, but I agree with that.
Just where technology is and just like how things are happening and moving. It's just like, this is one of those like, you know, you're either going to walk this way or walk this way kind of times. It's like we're at a real crossroads as you know, humanity itself, and just like, how are we going to play this? And it feels like we're going to fuck it up pretty bad. Nothing feels like anybody's trying to steer the ship in the right direction.
Man, I don't know.
This is when you need like a Jesus. Like I don't know what Jesus actually was in this time, you know? I don't want to say yes, I believe he was. I don't know what it was. But whatever it was impactful enough that it got everybody back on track. It's like one thing had to come along and be like, we're kind of fucking this up. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is, we need that. Right. We need that energy, because it's not going to be a president. It's not going to be, that's not what's going to do it. It needs to be outside of the system. It needs, you know, it's like a Martin Luther King. It's a Nelson Mandela. It's like you need something completely outside of the thing to radicalize everybody and wake everybody the fuck up to the fact that we are doing this quite wrong.
Man, I'm such an optimist, though, and maybe it's naive, but like I actually do believe that there's people, like even leaders, that are genuinely want to make the world a better place.
I don't think it matters how genuine they are, because they have to. If it's within the system, the machine is the problem.
Right.
So how genuine they are means nothing. You know, like I think Obama was a very genuine man, but he still had to play within the machine, right? And then you're dealing in America that is still just a racist structure built by racism, and will always support racism. So to me, even with Obama, it's like you're watching a situation where, because a black man sat at the highest seat, they've literally changed the validity and value of the seat.
What do you mean?
Meaning the presidency is now a joke because a nigga got in the pool. So, sure, why can't Donald Trump be the president? I don't think you're thinking that way pre-Obama.
Right.
But now there's no value in it. So literally, to me, it's just white people draining the pool.
Right.
Because they're going to go do something else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, sure, madman. They're not dumb. They know he's not good.
They're
not stupid.
I'm always amazed by that.
They're not stupid. The people that actually control this shit, because I'm a firm believer in that. I believe that there's an illusion of democracy and there's an illusion of power, and that's to keep everybody on the hamster wheel and playing the game. There's another game that's happening. There has always been another game that's happening. And the people who are in control or playing that game do not think this man is smart or wise or apt.
I agree with that, yeah. I don't think there's many people in government that are
absolutely not.
That mind. But
I do think once a black man took that seat, they were like, oh, we need to figure out something else. This game is soiled. So what's the other game that we're going to play now that we value over this game? And then this is how we'll control and mandate this game. Yeah,
I do. I always feel like it's just greed. I never thought about it from the racism side.
Well, the race and the greed go together.
Yes. I mean, that's...
But I think it's greed over race. And then when race becomes a convenient play, then it's race.
Right. Yeah.
But it's definitely greed over race, for sure. But in order to maintain the greed, they have to maintain the racism.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Civil War was about, pretty much.
Yes. In order to, you get what I'm saying? You know, like, if mostly that was at the top of this food chain is white and male. Mm-hmm. In order to maintain that, they have to maintain this idea of race and how it works to keep them at the top of this thing. Whether they truly believe in it or not, I don't know.
Yep.
But
and
that's
sexism too. Yep.
Yes, that's how they stay fed, right? It's like I was talking about this recently, but it's like the idea of America is white affluence. That's what it's pushing.
That's the American dream?
Yes. That's what it looks like.
Right.
That's what they're pushing to the world. So that's why even they will isolate poor white people, even though poor white people don't realize how isolated they are being. It's intentional. Like, why don't we don't shine a lot of light on white poverty in this country. We don't talk a lot about what poor white people are going through in this country. You don't see a lot of exposés about, poor white impoverished communities. They exist.
Yeah,
they exist, but they're always walking around the ghetto, right? They're always walking around the black neighborhoods and the Spanish neighborhoods. Look at how they're living. Because if you show a bunch of poor white people, you immediately are conflicting with the idea of this whole thing, which is white affluence. So now the illusion is false, right? Like the illusion is exposed. I mean, because now it's like, well, if this thing is working, how can all these poor white people exist? And so they don't get shown, right? They don't get the attention they need, and the empathy that they actually deserve, which breeds the racism, right? Because they're fucking poor and they're angry. And they're like, well, no one gives a fuck about us being poor, but we're supposed to break our necks for poor black people all over the country. What's the difference between them and me? Well, the difference is that you're white and you conflict with the idea, so they can't really shine a light on you. And then also because you're white, you believe in the idea. You've bought into this, right? So you're actually getting fucked by this the most if you're a poor white person, in my opinion. As I've never believed this country was going to do anything for me particularly. I don't really believe in America because I know it was never made to service me, and its intention had nothing to do with me from the beginning. I understand that about my relationship, and so I can have a very different relationship with this country. But if you're a white person in this country, you are doubling down on the shit because you have no other option.
Right. And then you're blaming like black people and you're waking immigrants.
Because you're waking up every day white and it's not working.
Right. Yep.
And so you're like, well, why isn't it fucking working? So whose fault is it? Well, the fault is the government and the system that doesn't want it to work for you because you negate what it's trying to achieve.
Yep. Yeah. Money for the people at the top and the rich white men in power.
And they're using you because these poor white people vote with these people because they are white too, and they think it's to benefit all whiteness. And it's like, no, it is not. So you have dirt poor white people who are voting with millionaires over tax medians and all this shit that has nothing that will never affect them.
That won't help them.
It has nothing to do. It actually has nothing to do with them. It's like, this is above your pay grade talk.
Right.
Has nothing to do with
But
you.
if they were voting for the other side that wants to do like a billionaire tax that's going to give, like, could have something to do with them, could help them.
Yeah, but they'd have to accept that they're not a part of the winning team.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's crazy times. Do you avoid confrontation, or do you lean into confrontation?
Depends on the confrontation.
Have you ever been in a fight?
Yeah, like young though.
What kind of confrontation do you lean into, and what do you avoid?
I avoid like fights.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
like stuff like that seems idiotic to me, and I've never really been a fighter. Mm-hmm. I've always just never understood the point.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I just never really got it. I never thought it was necessary. But I was very good with my words. Mm-hmm. And I could really cut you by talking to you. So I think that's also a part of why I was just like,
yeah.
you know, it's easy when you're good with your words and you can cut people down and be like, what are you getting so mad about? You know what I mean? But I also, now that I'm older, can understand like everybody doesn't have that ability. And so someone doing that to you could probably make you feel very powerless, and that could probably make you want to fight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so I get it. You're like, I'm going to use what I have against what you have, you know? Mm-hmm. If someone's trying to unjustly control me,
then you're going to say something.
Yeah, then I'm going to say something for sure.
And how about like in emotional situations or relationships? Do you think you tend to be like more silent, or like you do address stuff?
I would say I'm a talker,
right?
Not a fighter, but I would like to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, same. In the same way. Would you say that you're a romantic?
I have to say no, because I'm not. I don't do it consistently enough.
Right.
So I can be romantic, but I'm not a romantic.
What makes you feel romantic? What are your romantic acts like? And like what is it that inspires romance in you?
I feel like I used to be more romantic when I was broke.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. You know, I've been dating my fiance off and on for like 16 years. We met in college. I feel like when I was younger, I was way more of a simp. And I used to write her poetry all the time. And like, I would send her like flowers every week, you know, shit like that. And
that's very romantic.
Yeah, I used to do stuff like that.
Is that just familiarity? Why that now? Or
it may be a little of that. I'm also just like busy, or you know, right. I had a lot of time to think about her back then. Just, you know, and I was like little love struck, little just thinking about her all day long. And now I'm like thinking about so much, you know. So that's that too. I think a little bit when I was younger, I felt underappreciated. I didn't feel like she really appreciated it. And now it's like, now I'm like, well, why do you need it? Because you already know, you know? So it's so much rarer that I'm like in that bag. That's why I'm like, I can't say that I'm a romantic, but you know, there's times when I can like turn up the romance.
What is your love language? What would you say your love language is?
Oh man, I'm that part of me is so masculine. It's like provide and protect.
Okay.
It's like, I'm taking care of you. Clearly, I love you. You know, like I'll make sure nothing happens to you. I'll make sure that you're good.
Right. Do you like to speak your love?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell her stuff, and like, I'm a talker. Period. You know, and she's not really. She's like she is a avoider of conversations and confrontations. Yeah, right. And I'm such a like, clearly there's a problem. Let's talk about it. Same. And let's get to the bottom. Let's not do that. And to me, like, love is also, for me, majorly, it's understanding somebody. Like, I have a real need and want and yearning to just really know her as a person all the way around.
Yes.
Like, I always ask her stuff and she gets frustrated, but I'm like, I'm just trying to understand you.
Yep.
I just want to understand why you do the things you do, why you make the decisions you make, why sometimes when I say certain things, because clearly something's happening. You're having some type of reaction. And if I can understand you more, then I can love you better, I believe.
Yes.
So, like, that's another one of my love languages, I guess. It's just, like, I really want to get to know you. If I love you, I really want to understand what makes you tick.
Yeah.
And what you're thinking and why you're feeling what you're feeling and how things make you feel and why you're reacting to things the way you're reacting to things. But for someone like her who doesn't like communicating, it drives her up a wall. It's interrogation to her, you know?
I think it's like one of the most intimate things is like when you truly feel like you understand somebody and also feeling understood.
Yes. And that's very important to me.
Yeah.
That is one way you can really show me that you care about me is just attempt to understand who I am and how I am.
Would you say you're a sexual person?
I can be.
What makes you attracted to someone?
I gotta find you like interesting, like how you think, and the type of person you are. Like that's like first. It's just like, do I think you're like a dope person? Do I think you're an interesting person? Do I think are you tapped into this thing? Are you thinking about this experience? Are you here? Or are you just passing through?
Right. Yep. Would you say you're an optimist or a pessimist?
I would say I'm a realist.
That's funny. I have a joke with my brother that whenever you ask a pessimist if they're optimist or a pessimist, they always say I'm a realist.
I'm a realist.
Do you ever get depressed?
Yeah, for sure.
How does it manifest itself?
I just don't want to do shit, and I don't want to talk to nobody, and I don't want to be around anybody, and I just want to just like dig a hole and go in it for a while and just be with myself. So I isolate heavily. I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm not answering my phone. I'm not really in the mood to, because I'm very much like I gotta figure this out. I gotta think my way out of this.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Is that because usually your depression tends to be more things that are situational rather than something just more existential?
Sometimes it's existential, but I just am a person who fully believes no one can fix things for me but me, and it's kind of what's gotten me through a lot of dark times. Is just I had to pull on myself and go like, are you gonna do something about this or are you not gonna do something about this?
Yeah.
So whenever I'm feeling that kind of way, I know it's like, all right, you gotta go deal with yourself.
You feel very self-aware, like in a way that I don't think a lot of people are. Like it's, I think it's something I strive for, because to me that's the path toward self-understanding is to me the path towards like happiness and the way I make my life better, the way I make lives better of everybody around me is like first through self-understanding, and I feel like you have a real grasp on that. Clearly,
sometimes,
you've done a lot
baby,
of work.
I got a grasp on it today.